We're good.
Hello, and welcome to episode 1005 of The Sleeper and the Bust. Today is Tuesday, January 25th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir. I think I nailed the number, right? It's 1005.
It is 1005. It's kind of hard to come up with all the numbers now.
I was unsure of myself for a second there, and you could tell that the little hesitation there.
Yeah.
How you doing? I know you're recovering. You're in recovery mode.
Yeah, I had a little bit of minor dental surgery stuff. I don't even know if I think it's considered surgery, but yeah. I was in some pain yesterday. Still potted for 2 hours last night.
Dude, mailman style.
Mm-hmm.
Neither rain nor sleet nor snow nor mouth surgery.
Quite
You're out there
literally
doing your thing.
made my picks on the 5-6 turn from the dentist chair.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'll send you the picture. I literally had goggles on because they didn't want any splash in my eye or anything like that.
That's so good.
The dental bib, and still made my picks taking Nick Castellanos and Will Smith.
Okay, which Will Smith?
The pitcher. I knew the closer.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We're actually going to talk about Castellanos here, and what we're doing today is the Bad X and ATC are out. So for you projection hounds, get out there now. Those two and Steamer, you got all three to look at. You kind of mix and match, do your thing. Today we're going to focus on the Bad X. Down the line, we'll look at some ATC stuff. Derek Carty's excellent projection system, and we're going to look at some potential gems on their end, at least in relation to Steamer. Some guys that Bad X has at each position that are markedly higher than where Steamer has them, which will then lead me into asking you if you agree, if you see what Bad X is seeing, or if you lean more towards Steamer, or in some cases you might just be plumb in between them. So let's start. At catcher. Go ahead.
Before we start, though, can I ask a question? Because this is a question I posed last night.
Okay.
And obviously, it'd probably be better for someone who like Derek Carty or Ariel Cohen, who does projections.
Someone smart, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
No, totally.
Which
let's pretend I'm a smart person for a second.
Which gives me the time to do this. Yeah, I can. A little ticker at the bottom. So,
I love that. Except for the message is not great for me.
Yes, for those listening in audio, I have a little ticker on the bottom of the screen going, "Paul is dumb. Don't listen to him."
Somebody found a new tool.
Yeah, I love that. I love recording live. So my question is, considering projections rely partially or a lot on past performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had the shortened 2020 season, and then we had a 2021 season that isn't going to be normal because of the shortened 2020 season.
Good point too.
How much are we, or how worried are we that projection systems may take a little bit of time to catch up? Because I think we've seen some weird, especially from the pitching side of things, where guys were maybe limited in 2021 because of the shortened 2022 season. How seriously can we take projections for this year?
I will probably continue to take them as seriously as I've always done, which is to say, not to the top where I'm married to that number. I respect the work that goes into them. I would actually go the other way. I feel like they're bringing me back in line more, so I don't get too crazy about 2020, or even be careful a little bit on 2021, because they're going to have plenty of 2019 in there, and we feel so far removed from that I think you can make a counter case that they're the ones kind of bringing things maybe back in line if people were getting a little bit too outside, taking outsized opinions from 21 and 20 and making it create a different projection. I could see if the 19 influence is there enough, plus the general conservatism of projections, I feel like they might actually have a measuring factor to kind of tamp things down. But I guess it'd probably be player by player basis, right? Because what you said about the innings management and the goofiness of these two seasons, there's going to be some cases where it's hard to do that, and others where I think they will have a better case of doing that. Like if somebody didn't have a full 19 to kind of be that measuring stick to pull things back, then what do we do, right? And so we get into players like that. Bottom line, I'll go back to what I said at the very beginning. Taking them as seriously as I've always done, which is they are part of the mix. They've never been my full mix. They've never been something that I rely on exclusively. And I will continue to do that because I do agree with you that there is some extra volatility in them that even projections cannot account for, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm right there in kind of lockstep with you. So in this instance, I don't believe you're dumb or wrong.
Yes.
But yeah, I kind of I definitely am like kind of shying away a little bit from really relying on projections. I definitely want to look at them and kind of see what I agree with, see what I disagree with, but I wonder how much of the craziness from the last two seasons um, is really affecting them. I definitely need to have Derek on at some point and kind of
Yes,
have a
we should have them
discussion
on
about that.
together, talk with them. As always, they make me dig more one way or the other, right? Even when one fully confirms what I'm on about. Okay, let's make sure that I'm not just taking the back pat, the visual back pat from Derek. Or, oh, he likes the guy I like. Great, gung
Mhm.
ho, move him up my list even more. Okay, well let's make sure that everything's good. Okay, what about somebody I fully disagree with? Let's look further. Maybe I need to make an adjustment there. So as always, projections are causing me to dive further. And that's what it's all about, is just jumping in further and getting to where you feel comfortable with the player and your opinion on them, right?
Mhm.
Just for a quick example, they've got Max Stassi crazy low. In fact, both projection systems really do. They have him at the 22nd catcher. And I already understand that. I totally get that. He's injured all the time. And he has a max of 319 plate appearances set this past year, and he's going to be 31. So there is reason for projections to be a bit cautious with them. I still see a guy who's shown extreme power. I understand that the health is a piece that is missing, but I'm willing to take him well above that 22nd ranking because of the skills that I've seen, and without honestly on the hope. I know hope is
Mhm.
you don't want to put too much just on blind hope. It's not blind hope, but hoping to spike 120 games from a healthier season. And then I think Max Stassi can hit 20 homers. But I understand why he's 22nd on the Bat X and 21st on Steamer. There are reasons for him to be down there. And he's also pretty cheap in ADP for similar reasons. So I will take that into account, even though I have him ranked 12th or 11th myself. I don't know exactly where I have him. So yeah, always just using them to help better my thoughts on players, never just blindly following them, positive or negative.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, well, let's talk about the first guy here. Gary Sanchez for the Bad X ranks quite a bit higher. And another thing that we're going to learn during this, I'm not going to necessarily give the comparison numbers for both Steamer and Bad X on every player we do, but just to crystallize how much small changes can really move a guy up the rankings. You're going to hear these differences, and you're going to be like, this is not that stark. And yet you're going to learn that Sanchez is 17th on Steamer
Hmm.
and 9th on the Bad X. And that's with a 223 average. That's the key difference, by the way. Remember that number. 24 homers, 57 ribbies, 53 runs. That's for Bad X. 210 average, so 13-point difference. 20 homers, -4. 53 ribbies, -4. And 48 runs, also -4. So those -4s in the three counting categories, but the -13 in average is the big change there. And that's why Gary Sanchez is 9th for the Bad X, and again, 17th for Steamer. Where do you come out with Gary Sanchez? Closer to the Bad X, closer to Steamer, or smack dab in the middle?
Oh, I hate to sit on the fence here. I feel kind of smack dab in the middle. Like I could see a huge range of outcomes for a guy like Gary Sanchez. I mean, we know he's got legitimate power. The question is, how much is he going to strike out? Is he, gonna play enough? Like, will they give him more plate appearances? Because like he would be great as their DH, but they have so many bodies they need to put at DH that I don't think he's ever going to play a ton there
True.
necessarily. So
I mean, they're going to play Judge. Judge's defense, when he's healthy, he's playing every day. I think
yeah, but
Stanton showed
Stanton and Voit are the two that ends up, especially like if they make a deal for a Matt Olson, which has been heavily rumored.
makes
You
no
got to
sense.
think it does make no sense, but
But yeah, I know it has been
it's been the
bandied about.
prevalent rumor. So yeah, I mean, I have Sanchez. Actually, I should double check where I have Sanchez in my ranks, because I just released my catcher update or a catcher updated ranks. I have him 12th in my ranks, so I guess I'm
Okay, so you
more with
like
the
him.
bat. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's more about the rest of the pool. Like, I just don't know what I'm going to get from a ton of those
true.
guys, and there is a pretty big drop off, really, after like Mitch Garver, who I had
It's
14th.
funny because I literally just moved Gary Sanchez up behind Mitch Garver. I had Sanchez quite a bit lower, I think 19th, and I was like, well, what's the difference between Garver and Sanchez? Not really that much.
Except
I'm
for
just gonna
Sanchez has been healthy and Garver
Yeah,
hasn't.
and Sanchez probably has a better shot at playing time right now overall.
Hmm.
I should almost maybe put Sanchez atop Garver, but then
Yeah.
keep those two together. Any moves, they should probably be moving together, in my opinion. So I'm moving Sanchez up right by Garver there. And in fact, the bad X, Sanchez 9, Garver 10. And
I th-
so I'm kind of joining that. I'm going to keep Garver ahead. I'm still going to keep Garver on top, but I'm going to keep them 13 and 14 respectively.
yeah, I've got Sanchez above the aforementioned Max Stassi, above Garver, and it's largely about health. I mean, as
And that's
much
fair.
as I think maybe to steal the old 06010 phrase, like the hate has gone a little bit too far on Gary Sanchez, because I think people are still remembering, oh, this guy used to be a second round pick or third round pick in two catcher leagues, and then completely fell off the map. He's still
Mhm.
better than the majority of catchers in baseball offensively, and the Yankees are gonna play him. So like, and
That's the
he
thing.
stays healthy, like
I think they're going to continue to kind of find ways. Now, if the trade they make happens to be catcher oriented, well, then we
Yeah.
change our tune.
The
But
other rumor to them is Wilson Contreras, right? So
one thing I'll say is, or I'll ask you, 23 homers, 54 ribbies and runs last year with a 204 average in 440 plate appearances. Where do you think that put Sanchez last year among catchers?
I'm gonna say it was 15th.
You nailed it.
Oh,
You nailed
nice.
it. And so that actually makes me feel better about being a little bit lower, though, because I don't, that's, you said compared to the rest of the pool, he should be higher, and I get it. And I moved him up. I had 19. 19 was too low, but I'm not going to go much beyond that because that season that he put, I think, is right. It's right in line with the bad X projection, except for the 223 average. If they're right about the average, then all bets are off. You spike that extra 11, or excuse me, 19 points of average from 204 to 223. That would be a huge boost. But I'm looking more at another 2021 from Gary Sanchez. So I'm going to keep him here in the teens. It's just a couple spots behind you, but it still is a good bit below Bad X at 9th for Gary
I
Sanchez.
mean, I
But
will
then
say he had an XBA of 228. So
because he smacks the ball,
yeah, he
but
crushes the ball, but he
guys
strikes out so much.
and yeah, he strikes out like a ton. And guys like that can have a little bit misleading on the XBA stuff because they can be those guys that crush the ball, but can have outs come from it due to their speed still. Like things that would normally be a hit for a medium or better speed guy. I remember Pujols is the easiest example of this. The shortstop can play Pujols in like short left field, basically. So when he laces one at 104, that would normally be a nice one hopper to the left fielder for a single, is an out because of Pujols' speed. Sanchez is not on that level of speed, but I wonder if he loses a few hits here and there due to that. But he smacks the ball so hard that his XBA still runs high. So XBA is probably why the bad X got him back up to 223. We saw 232 back in 2019. Then he had a disaster 2020, 147 average. I mean, it was 178 plate appearances, and then 204 last year. So I don't think it's impossible. I will say this convo alone put Sanchez back in my draftable pool at the very least, because I really wasn't even looking at him at 19. I was like, I'm pretty much out. No, I'm realizing being in is the right move here because he's 246 ADP. That's really just not that expensive, So, all right, that's Gary Sanchez at catcher. Let's move on. This one, I think, even crystallizes the what small differences can do in projections even more so. Moving over to first base, Trey Mancini. The Bad X likes him quite a bit. They've got him at 11th among their first basemen, thanks to a 270 average, 28 homers, 82 ribbies, 81 runs. Compared to Steamer, which has 25 homers, -3, 82 runs, or 82 ribbies, even, 80 runs, -1. What's the big difference again? 15 points of batting average from 255 on Steamer to 270 on the Bad X. He hit 255 last year, Mancini did, but he's a 271 career average guy. So we're looking at, two different things here, with the batting average being the biggest difference. That batting average difference is enough to move Trey Mancini down 10 spots to 21 on Steamer. So it's 15 points. It's substantial, but virtually nothing else is different. And it's a 10-spot jump there with that 15 points of batting average. Do you believe more in the Bad X side here or the Steamer side of Trey Mancini?
God, that's hard. I kind of believe a little bit of both. I kind of believe that the 270 average sounds about right for a guy like Mancini, and could potentially even be a little bit better than that. With the wall being moved back and up, could lead to a little bit higher BABIP for him.
Yeah, some more hits falling in.
Yeah, but I don't know that I'm with the wall moving back. I don't know that I'm as comfortable with 28 home runs.
Well, that's all right, because both of them have that. So, excuse me. Steamer does
Steamer
have
25.
25. You're right. So you like more of the 25 homers, but the 270 average.
Yeah.
That would probably, if we combine those two, then you're probably putting him more in the teens then. Is that where you have him ranked? Where do you have Mancini ranked?
I think I've got him ranked in the teens. That sounds about right. Let's see. Oh, no, I have him 21st.
Okay.
So maybe he needs to come up a little bit. He definitely needs to come up a little bit.
I had him 19th, and I moved him up recently, 19th in my posted rankings. He moved up even before this. I don't think I'm going to do a second move here. I already had him at 15th, just based on realizing, like, hey, he can hit for an average that is not too bad. I think I was pigeonholing him in my mind as more of like a low average, high power guy. 2019, he hit 291. He just had an amazing season. 242 the year before that. Let's put everything on the table here. But it goes 293, 242, 291, 255. And keeping to the ironclad, never fails every other year routine that you can 1,000% bet on from players. He's hitting 290 something this year, Justin. It's locked in stone.
Absolutely. This is the Alex Rios of
the Brett Saberhagen metrics, as Jason calls them, of the every other year. But no, he has vacillated a bit in batting average, but kind of the middle of bouncing between mid 240s and low 290s is something in the 270 range. So I moved him up to 15. I realized, guys that I do like, but need to be a little bit smarter on, like Ty France and Alex Kirilloff specifically. Trey Mancini needs to be above them for me. We need to see where Kirilloff's wrist is at. And frankly, France just hasn't shown the power that a Mancini has, while Mancini has shown that he can be kind of near Ty France's batting average capabilities.
And so that's literally what I just did, is move him in front of Ty France. So
there you go. I just felt like that was the right move.
I've got him at 19 right now.
Okay. So we both moved up Trey Mancini there based on just giving a little bit deeper thought. All right, going to second base. This one didn't surprise me. And this is a guy who I do think is chronically I think he's just forgotten. And you end up, whenever he gets drafted, I feel like if I'm not the one to take him, I'm always like, damn it. Yep, I should have. Why didn't I take him last round? And it's Gene Segura out there for Philly, still just doing his thing and just quietly ho-hum putting up seasons. So the Bad X has him 11th to Steamer's 19th. So an 8-point split here in ranking. And the stats that we've got here, please hold. I'm pulling up the page. For the Bad X, hitting a 283, 18 homers, 9 steals, 71 ribbies, and 76 runs. The Steamer had 280, so -3 on the points, 15 homers, -3, 9 steals, even, 64 ribbies, -7, 81 runs, actually +5. So not down in everything. They have more runs for him, but fewer homers and a little bit lower batting average. Again, this one surprises me that 3 homers, 3 points of batting average, 7 fewer ribbies, but 5 more runs creates an 8-point split here between the two. So where do you come out on Gene Segura? Is he somebody that you see as undervalued? And because the dollar values are starkly different too. $12.50 for the Bad X and $430 for Steamer. And maybe that's just a calculation there and how they get to their dollar values, but I'm surprised by that. That seems stark.
Yeah, I always feel like Gene Segura is underrated, even by me at times. I recently had to kind of redo my ranks around him because I had him like somewhere in the mid 20s, and had to bust him up quite a few spots. To let's see, I've moved Gene Segura all the way up to 17.
You got
Um,
him at 17?
yeah, I got him at 17, and I mean I had him. I want to say like around 24, 25
Yep.
at one point, and
So did I.
but I can't remember who made the point on Twitter, so I'm sorry I can't give a little bit more credit. But someone was talking about like O'Neal Cruz and like, oh, he's getting these, all this push as a quote unquote sleeper, but like Gene Segura is like just forgotten about, even though he gives 5 category production.
It's because he's boring. He's 32 and he's boring, and it's like.
And while I disagree on the O'Neal Cruz hate, I was like, you know what? They're right. They're completely right about Segura being kind of completely overlooked because he doesn't have the standout tool. Though I think we could probably disagree with that, considering like 290 is a fantastic batting average.
That's a standout tool. Yeah.
That's a standout, stat in fantasy at this point, especially considering how late he goes. So yes, I think Segura is wildly underrated this year.
I want to say I actually I've been having to run some errands, be out a bit, listening to more pods, and I want to say it was Eno and Derek talking about Segura and his value in this same capacity of like he's just a boring, forgotten guy. And then you look up and you realize you could possibly get a double-double. He went 12-10 back in 2019, 14-9 last year, 18-9 is the projection this year, and I totally think that, but you're paying for the batting average, a low double-double, and then a handful of ribbies and runs just from playing most days. I think Gene Segura is one of those boring guys that's never going to get you all excited. No one's going to ooh and ah you in the room. Who cares? Dude produces, and I had to move him up too. I had him 21 in my initial ranking, and frankly, that should have been called out, but we all do it. Like the general consensus is overlooking Gene Segura. And,
I think often when we get to that point in the draft, we're looking for a particular stat, right?
Or we're looking for the flashy that can like go way high,
huge upside.
But he could too. Why couldn't he go 20 and 14?
Yeah, I mean he could theoretically be a 2020 guy. I mean, I'm not going to bank on that, but
sure.
I mean, he's.
But we're talking about upside, right? And at 32, that's the thing. We think guys that are 30 plus, they don't have that they're viewed as not having upside, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
Because he's been so steady, and I get that. But pay for what he already does. That's a great price for what he already does at pick 209. But don't think that Gene Segura doesn't have some upside. And maybe it's not even in the power, really. Maybe it's just that he gets a bug in his butt and wants to go crazy on the bases. He hasn't run wild in a while. 20 steals back in 2018. We're not that far removed. And I know a 57th percentile sprint speed, people are going to be like, well, I don't know how much he's going to run. Sprint speed, A, is not the number one indicator of stealing bases. 2, he's a savvy base runner. He knows what he's doing on there. If he wants to get going a bit, he can push a double-digit stolen base total, and Gene Segura can be a nice value.
Yeah, I mean, and aside, the flip side of the upside, like the floor is super safe. We're talking about a guy who, outside of 2020, obviously, has posted at least 550 plate appearances in every season of his career. Like, I mean, he just plays. And sometimes you need those guys. Like, he's a glue guy. He allows you to stay balanced. He allows you to, rack up plate appearances. Yeah, I mean, he's just really underrated.
Isn't he the continuation? Isn't he just Howie Kendrick now? Isn't he just feeling?
I think he's better. I think he's better than Howie Kendrick. Kendrick didn't run.
Go look at what Kendrick was running in comparable years. I think for the age comparison, I think it might actually work. Now, for where he is now, I'm talking Kendrick. Segura ran more back in the day than Kendrick ever did. I agree with that. I'm talking like at this juncture in his career, isn't he just kind of peak Howie Kendrick?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he probably is.
Right? Like, so,
Maybe he's got more power than Kendrick did at this point in his career.
well, I'm saying, sorry, I think I'm being unclear. I'm not comparing age 31 to age 31. I'm saying Segura today is mid 20s Howie Kendrick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so.
That's what I'm saying there.
All
And
right, so
that was a nice little. I was being unclear. Pardon me. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you liked peak Howie Kendrick, you're now getting that as aging Gene Segura, and I think that's pretty damn good.
And I think there's upside for more.
Exactly. With the batting average, if he just spikes a big BABIP here and things go wild and he's hitting like 325, nobody would be surprised. Or if he decides to run a bit more, or if Philly says let's push it a little bit, and all of a sudden he's stealing 20 bags again, and even if all you get is another 14-9 with a 280 average and it's ho-hum boring, you will not be upset at pick 200 for Gene Segura. All right, let's move over to shortstop. Talk about best player on the best team, Javier Baez. Welcome to the squad. Just an absolute god of a player. I've never said an ill thing about him, and why would I? Because he's legitimately perfect as a player, and the batting greens. So this one, another batting average one. A lot of these differences do come down to batting average, but they have him 11th here. Actually, hang on, that was among second basemen. At shortstops, the BATX has Baez at 12 against Steamers 21. So another stark split, and I'll tell you off rip, 9 points of batting average. But then it's 27 homers, 14 steals, 80 ribbies, 78 runs. Not a whole lot of difference there. The biggest difference there between Steamer and the BATX is -7 runs on Steamer down to 71. Otherwise, it's -1 homer plus 3 ribbies. They actually have 83 ribbies and -1 steal from 14 to 13. So again, pretty similar projections, yet a pretty big difference in ranking here. Where do you come out on Baez between, I guess, primarily between the 254 and 245, because the batting averages are the real difference here. Are you in on Baez in Detroit?
My ranks have him a little bit higher than this. I wonder if he could run a little bit more than he did last year. Now that he's got a contract, that doesn't, have to play it so conservative.
And he still stole 18 last year. He went 31, 18, 265.
And the Tigers are a team that run. They were like 7th or 8th in baseball in terms of stolen bases. So, I think both projections are a little bit low in terms of what we're seeing in terms of his stolen base potential. So, and that's why I have him a little bit higher. So I definitely prefer the greater projection in the bat. I think there's some concern people have that, moved to Detroit, not as nice. The power kind of suffering a little bit. I don't necessarily know that I buy it too much. Maybe he loses a few cheapies, but
maybe trades it for a handful more base hits though too, because of that spacious center field and the right center gap that he can go oppo into for some doubles and triples. And I don't know. Let me ask you this: would you rather have, say, like 33 homers and a 240 average, or 25 but a 265? So 25 points of average versus 7 homers.
Yeah, I want the 25 points of average.
I do too.
Especially in an overall format. If I'm punting batting average, obviously I'll go the other way. But
sure.
I'll if I'm trying to stay balanced, I'm going to take that batting average and kind of go to the bank of it, because I can find 7 homers later.
His 265 is the full season low for all the issues that he has, and Javier Baez has issues. I'm not changing my tune completely just because he's a Tiger. I was being silly at the beginning there. The strikeout rate is scary, but he hits the ball so hard and he has speed that he maintains high BABIPs. I don't know that that's going to crater. So dropping down to 245 to me seems weird. He's a career 335 BABIP. Why does Steamer have him at 311? Why do they have such weird BABIPs sometimes?
Yeah, and for those people wondering, when he left Chicago, he hit like almost 300.
He hit 299 with the Mets on a 390 BABIP, and I'm not saying he'll 390 BABIP again, but I think that might be a little bit of sleeping on Baez.
Yeah, because you give a guy who hits the ball that hard, that spacious of a ballpark, and Tiger, same kind of in a situation, the BABIP's going to raise. Maybe 390 is not going to obviously sustain, but
sure.
Yeah, I think there is a good reason to bet. I think he is a little slept on, and I think in part because shortstop is so
the depth.
deep.
I was just about to say that. Yep.
I mean, insanely deep. When we're talking about that kind of projection, coming out as the 12th best shortstop, it just tells you how insanely deep the position is.
It really does, dude. It's crazy.
But like, if I miss out on some of the quote unquote elite options, I'll take like Diet Elite in Javier Baez for sure.
That's a great call, Diet Elite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have 9th, and I didn't move. This is the ranking that's on the site. 9th. I'm just leaving him there.
Yep.
And it's not Tiger influence. I just think that power, speed, I can even plan for a little bit of batting average.
Up to 9th. I'm gonna move Jorge Polanco down a spot.
Interesting thing is, we're still lower than the Bad X, or higher than the Bad X, excuse me, because they have him at 12. But that speaks to the depth. A couple guys that I have him ahead of that the Bad X doesn't. I'm worried about Seager in Texas. And Wander Franco. He's got Wander Franco 6th, which is very interesting to me. But we can get.
He's got Wander Franco 6. Wow.
Yeah. He's got him hitting 299, 29 steals. That's part. I don't know about that. 80 ribbies, 84 runs. Like none of that's terribly out of bounds. That's crazy that makes him 6th. Wow. Yeah, I hadn't seen that earlier. That's really interesting to me. 6th for Wander Franco. Hey, if you're gonna bet on somebody, it might as well be like one of the greatest prospects we've ever seen.
I'm just surprised the Bad X is so high on him, because he is, the bat traditionally really, like bumps up hard against rookies or prospects. Like,
I think he's learned that Derek has to refine that though, because it is different. He went off a lot of historical stuff where it did used to take guys a bit longer, but we're seeing guys come up more developed, more ready. And he was having a lot of misses with that. And I think he realized, okay, I got to take some of these minor league numbers a bit more seriously when I'm plugging them in to the projection, so I don't just hard regress everybody who comes up. And you're still going to have your Kelnicks who come. It's not like everyone comes up and dominates either. But he's had a few high profile, Acuna and Tatis specifically, I believe, where he's saying, hey, be cautious. And then everyone acts like you don't know anything because you got these wrong. You preached caution and they were great. So now you know nothing, apparently is the thinking for some folks who have weird vendettas against Derek.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Really good dude, by the way. I love him.
Yeah, Derek's awesome. So I'm pro Derek. There's my bias there. I will gladly admit that. He's a friend, and that's where that is. Justin Turner is our third base choice here. And I got to say, both sites like him. Both projection sets like him, and like him quite a bit more than I do. And I think my ranking is solely based on, I think it's a little bit of the hot potato of like, I don't want to be caught holding the bag on his health, because what if it craters at some point? Like it's kind of built in. Well, first off, he just played 151 games. So hats off to Justin Turner at age 36, bucking all the health issues that have been talked about with him and baked into his price, and playing 151. So maybe there is no reason for concern. And maybe I need to push up a bit, because when he plays, he's a god. And that's the thing. Maybe even if he just plays 125, you're still liking him more than where I have him at 17. I think that might be too low. But the Bad X has him at 4. Steamer has him at 8. The Bad X, 287 for Justin Turner, 26 homers, 83 ribbies, 81 runs. By the way, I haven't given steals totals on these guys. That don't matter, because like 1 or 2, who cares?
How dare you? That one.
In case you're wondering, no,
like you could win your league by 1.
I didn't give Mancini. I didn't give Sanchez's steals because they don't matter, and neither do Justin Turner's. So again, 287 average, 26 homers, 83 ribbies, 81 runs. Steamer says 273 average, 14-point difference there. 23 homers, -3, 85 ribbies, +2, and 80 runs, -1. So we have again a dispute here. Where do you come out on? Are you on the Justin Turner train?
This is interesting enough because right as we started, I went on the clock in this draft that I've been was referencing earlier on the, let's see, is this a 10-11 turn?
Mm-hmm.
And I took Justin Turner. Uh,
Oh, okay.
so just took I paired Justin Turner with Framber Valdez, and I feel pretty damn happy about it. When he is on the field, like you mentioned, he is fantastic.
Yep.
And last season was the most amount of plate appearances he put up in a season since 2016. So, I mean, he seems healthy. Now we also get the DH in the National League, which means they can give him days off to rest, and potentially, hopefully, keeping him healthier longer. I really like Justin Turner this year. I've actually slowly moved him up through the offseason in my ranks to the point where I have him as my 10th first or third baseman.
Literally just moved him to 11th. So
Yeah,
I'm right there with
I
you.
just moved him right in front of Chris Bryant.
I was being overly cautious. I got to be honest. If you had asked me how many games he played last year, I'd have come up with some bullshit number like 132 or something.
Yeah, I would have.
I had
I
no
was
idea.
about to say I would have said 130 something.
You know the saddest thing about it? It's not that I didn't have him. I don't have the excuse of I didn't have him anywhere last year. I got him on like 4 or 5 teams. Like I'm a Justin Turner guy, and I just dismissed him. It's just one of those blind spots where when you're doing, for me, this is my process. When you do that first ranking set, for me, it's in October because I want to be ready for the Arizona draft at FPAS. Obviously I don't go through everybody. I go memory and I just start pushing through and ranking.
Yep.
And he wound up down there. And now I'm looking, I'm like, that was foolish. That's way too low for him. Even with injury concerns of age and injury, he still needs to be higher because Justin Turner, when he plays, is so awesome. There's nothing in his profile that you can point to either. All you can say is injury and age. Like that's it. And those are concerns. But at some point, you got to understand where the production is and realize that at pick one, what do I always say? Don't double count things. At 159, the age and injury are in the price because if he was 32 and healthy, he'd be the 50th pick, right? Or something like that. He'd be going where like Bregman and Rendon go. So maybe like 70th, 80th pick or something, but it would be a lot higher.
Yeah.
It would be a lot higher. Okay.
I completely agree. Took him a 150. I'm super happy.
I like that a lot. So we're on the Justin Turner train, moving him on up. Another guy you talked about at the outset here, and I hinted that we would discuss Nick Castellanos. And I know that for you and I, we're going to have him a little lower than we will in March, just because he has no spot. And we always,
I won't. He can't go any higher for me.
Oh, you made an exception for him because we usually have guys.
He's
going to
sign.
I mean, I know he's going to sign. Everyone's going to sign, but we still play the. Oh, well, I think you're changing your rules on the fly here for a guy you like.
I think he's one of those guys. I think he's one of those guys because I had this I was texting with Bat Flip Crazy Toby last night. We were talking about our teams in this draft, and he was like, "Oh, I don't like the Castellanos pick." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Well, he's going to lose home runs in Great American Ballpark." I was like, "His power plays everywhere." Now, after I said that, he was all like, "Go look at his home road splits."
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty gross.
I know. That
does scare me a little bit.
That's why I thought you would have a little bit of like, I need to see where he lands caution, because I'm at 19, and I will tell you that if he lands somewhere that is neutral or friendly, he's going up. But until then, I'm playing it cautious. 19 is actually where Steamer has him exactly 2. And so I'll see if I agree with Steamer's projection on a neutral idea right now until we get a spot for him. But the Bad X still has him 11th, and they lean more toward you, I guess, where they're saying
I have him 14th. So
actually, there is no power difference. That's the funny thing between these projections. Well, there is power difference, but it's not home run related. 232 ISO to 215, but it's a 1 homer difference. Well, actually, hang on. Again, there's 30 more plate appearances for Steamer, so minus 1 homer. That would actually probably be a little bit more of a stark difference if they had the similar PA, but probably only another homer or 2. So anyway, bottom line here, Bad X for Nicholas Castellanos, 286 average, 30 homers, 95 ribbies, 88 runs, 3 steals just for you, Justin. Three very important steals. Steamer, 270, minus 16 points, 29 homers, minus 1, 94 ribbies, minus 1, 89 runs, plus 1, 3 steals, even. So it comes down to, again, to another big batting average discrepancy of 16 points, We don't know where he's going to play, so it's hard to say that. It looks like the bad X is just taking what he does. He's a 278 career hitter, 331 BABIP. They're putting, and they realize that most of that's come from Detroit, which would have not been as friendly, paired with his time in Chicago and Cincinnati. They're saying that he can be over what he's normally done as a batting average guy, because probably looking mostly at the recent history when he's been 298, 289. He was down to 225 in 2020.
Doesn't count.
60 games. It doesn't count. Like, it doesn't matter because it's not the same. He never got time to work through that. So you can't treat it the same as a full season. And then back up to 309 last year. So I agree with the bad X having him at a 286. Like, I think that's more in line with where he's going to be. I do think I probably lean. I think if you had given me, if you said, give me your snap projection, I would have said 280, 28, 90, 90 is probably what I would have said as like a snap idea. Is 19 too low for that? I don't know. Did you now, after that conversation with Toby, want to move Castellanos because you don't know where he's going to land? Or do you feel how I feel, which is I feel like I think environment's going to be a bigger decision for Castellanos than like just the money. I feel like he would take fewer dollars, not crazily, obviously, but he might take a little bit lower offer for a better park because he's front and center on parks. Remember how much he used to complain about Detroit, how excited he was to get into
If
Chicago,
he was going to do that, why wouldn't he have just not opted out of his deal in Cincinnati?
He might still think he can get more than that, though.
I think he's taking money. I think he's going to take money. I think he's obviously going to want to pick the best possible park for him, but I think he wants to get paid.
Well, he can.
You don't leave like one of the best hitting environments in the league to then worry about your hitting environment. He wants money.
Both can be true, though. Why can't you opt out because you have this ability instead of?
I'm glad I have the dumb ticker going.
No, I'm not though. Like you're not necessarily making extra sense here, like you think you are. 16 mil is what he's supposed to make. Okay, that's a good wage. Obviously, it's well below the value that he's put out for the last few years.
That's
so
fair.
Opting out does not say like I will just take money at all costs. It's saying, hey, Cincy, I'd even love to stay with y'all, but y'all know 16 mil ain't it.
That's fair. Okay. And
so what I'm saying is,
I do think that if you look at the contenders, the teams we expect to want to spend money.
Who do we expect? Because I don't know who's in on Castellanos. Who are the potential landing spots for him?
I think San Francisco might be a potential landing spot.
And wouldn't that scare you then?
Not really. Not with the way they move their fences.
I know the park's playing better, but it's not the place to be.
Well, and he's not a lefty. Like he's a righty. So it plays neutral. Like I want to say I looked up his X home run last night at San Francisco. Let me see if I can go. Let's see if I still have it. I do still have the tab open. There we go. Laziness. 30 home runs has been his X home run in San Francisco.
What was it?
It was 34.
Okay.
In Cincinnati.
4 homers is a lot. Like like to take off a projection, like that's a chunk. Like we can make up 4 homers. I'm not saying that you can't, but I think we're learning. I think this is what we're learning from this project. No, because I'm giving you Bad X and Steamer, and we're like, these are not big differences, and yet it's creating 10, 12 ranking plunges here and there. So I think a 4 homer difference is a big deal.
Yeah, I feel like I probably should move him down, but
I'm gonna keep him at 19 right now, personally.
I might need to just redo that whole section of my teens in my outfield ranks. Just
by the way,
I'm looking at it and I'm going, I should have Randy Arozarena higher. I should have.
Where do you have Arozarena?
A 17.
Yeah, I'm 14. Yeah.
Yeah, this speed should put him higher.
Let me give you this park factor over at Baseball Savant. 3-year rolling average from the right side only. Giants are 28th. Now I know that they made changes, so let me just do last year only, right? So that we don't even get 19 in there. Take 19 out. They're 29th. They moved down 1. So it's not like some great place where righties are taken care of is singles and doubles are neutral. Well, about neutral. They're at 102, 38 triples factor 158. Very, very beneficial for righties in Oracle Park. But home runs are an 82, just above Chase Field. By the way, I don't think most people realize Chase
I'm
Field,
surprised.
hardest place to hit a homer for a righty last year specifically. So yeah, if he went to San Francisco, that's
I might have to drop him down.
And that's what I'm thinking is if San Francisco and God, I just who's another contender? Give me another team that might be in line for him. Because I'm trying to map out this money thing I'm talking about. I'm not saying that he would take like $8 million a year to go play in Coors versus $24 million to go play in San Francisco. But I'm thinking if it's like $22 million offer per year in San Francisco, but then 21 mil. What did I say? 22, 24 mil, like 2-3 mil, I think would be the difference that he might take for a markedly better environment. Not that he would completely waste his value and hurt the Players Association by taking a crazy deal. That's all I meant by the money thing. The reason he opted out is because he knows he's worth more than 16 mil. We know that.
I have a hard time placing him, to be honest.
So do I. And that's why I got him at 19.
I feel like it's going to be a National League team that doesn't have a player they can slot in the DH.
Okay. So that he can mix in there because he's not a good fielder.
Yeah. Philadelphia? Does that make sense?
What's their outfield setting up as? Because they got DH eligible guys. I mean, they have an elite catcher that they can get some extra days by putting him at DH. They have Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah, so Philadelphia's not a good fit. I mean, I guess they could put him out in left field. They have Adam Hazley there.
Yeah.
And Mickey Moniak in center. I mean, obviously Castillo can't play center, but
Philly's not a terrible fit. Philly's not so that goes back to my you got a home friendly park, a hitter friendly park versus a pitcher friendly park, and I think if they came in based on what I think I know of Castellanos and how he feels about environments, I feel like he would take a few dollars less. And when I say few dollars, I'm talking like $2-3 million a year max. Nothing insane. And that's a lot, by the way. Just because they're rich doesn't mean you don't want $2 million more per year. I think he might take like a $22 million a year offer from Philly over 24, 25 in San Francisco because of the environment. That's what I meant with that initial point. Do you think that's still out of pocket?
I don't think it's out of pocket.
But you still don't think he necessarily would.
I don't think he necessarily would.
And frankly, I don't think he should, to be honest.
He shouldn't.
If I'm him, I'd take that money. I would take all those money
dollars. Because, at this point, depending on how long that contract is,
his last big dog.
It might be his last big contract. So, at 29, you want to get a 5-year deal that, sets you for the rest of your life.
Exactly. So, all right, that's where I was on Castellanos. All right, let's cap it off with a pitcher here. I originally had Clayton Kershaw because he had Bad X has Kershaw a good bit higher. But
I don't like that. Whatever the projection.
No, I know. But we've talked Kershaw plenty. So this one really stood out to me, and I knew this was a stark difference because the way I was doing it was I was looking at like the top 50 at each position. And when I put this one in, the steamer column didn't have a ranking because they didn't even rank him within the top 50, whereas the Bad X has Bailey Ober coming in really high at pitcher 38.
What?
So this is a very, very stark difference here. Steamer has Bailey Ober for a 4.50 ERA, 127 WHIP with a 23% strikeout rate. The Bad X has a 24% strikeout. It's actually 0.3. I don't like decimals because I think they're needless. They just add an extra number, especially on podcasts. So I cut them off, but we would round up to 24. But this highlights my point. There's really no difference between 23 and 24. But the big difference is 4.24 ERA, 120 WHIP. So 0.26 off the ERA and 0.07, 26 points of ERA, 7 points of WHIP is the big difference here. Even though Bat has 19 fewer innings, they still have a much brighter outlook for Bailey Ober. By the way, are you surprised that 424, 120 in 126 innings is good enough for 38th among starters? That's the part that really stood out to me.
Yeah, the reason I kind of exclaimed right there was exactly that, because I was looking at his projection, and I was trying to figure out, okay, what would a 120 or a 424 ERA put Bailey Ober with only 126 innings?
That's the part. And I'm like, I'm stunned that this is a $7 season And let me see. Do they have?
Uh,
I mean, 9 wins. Both sites have 9 wins projected, so it's not some like windfall that is moving the ranking. It's really this ERA and WHIP.
So I was like, oh, that's gonna put him in the 50 something. And so when you said
38
that
above McClanahan, Cease, Pablo Lopez, Framberto, like some guys that I'm just stunned by.
yeah. I may not use pitching projections at all this year. I really don't like a lot of pitching projections. This is weird.
Yeah.
I don't have him close to that. Like I'm not even like
So
not remotely.
Steamer has him 72. Are you in anywhere near that?
Yeah, I'm sure I'm right around that.
I have him 77, so I'm in on that. And
I have 97.
I'm more in line with top 80. I can do that. I mean, there's a glaring issue, right? It's home runs. If he can curb the home runs, there's some upside, because even with a 2.0 homer 9 rate last year, Bailey Ober put up a 4.19 ERA and a 120 WHIP with 25% strikeout rate, 5% walk. I understand the reasons for excitement. I was just surprised to see that the 424 120 put him 38th. That's the part that I can't get over. How does that register as the 38th best pitcher already?
Yeah, and I mean, I know that a lot of people have said kind of what you're saying. You're like, oh, if he can just limit the home runs. I don't know that he can. Like I'm really worried about this profile.
He never gave up homers like that in the minors, though.
I mean, what he did last year was give up just a crap ton of hard contact in the zone. Like, I'm like, I mean, the ridiculous amount of fly balls, ridiculous hard contact, ridiculous zone Like, I want nothing to do with Bailey Ober. Like, guys,
you want nothing to do with him.
I mean, I guess in the right situation,
no value on a 25% strikeout rate, 5% walk rate. Like that core skill there has to mean something. No,
not if he gives up that many. His home run rate is higher than his walk rate. I know.
Yeah, 1.9 walks per 9, 2.0 homers per 9.
Like if he wants to lower that home run rate, he's gonna have to start walking people.
Like, it's not like you just go up and blindly walk people. We've talked about this before, right? It's about
you've got to make better decisions late in the count and stuff.
Exactly. It's about when you attack. I'd love to go through some of his homers. Maybe I'll do that. Go through some of his homers and see what's happening here. Are you just getting beat early because you're making bad pitches in the zone, or are you getting in those sticky points late in counts where instead of maybe being a little bit more fine and working the edges, you're still pumping something in the middle of the zone that is getting hammered? I don't know. But when I saw Bailey Ober at 38, my jaw dropped.
He gave up 11 of his home runs in 0-1 counts.
Okay.
So
11 of how many? He couldn't have given up that many. He only pitched 92 innings. What did he give up? Like 12, like 20 homers?
Oh, wait. No, this can't be right.
He gave up 20 exactly.
So no, this can't.
I got you. I got you on the counts here for homers, I think. Let's see here. All right. So in hitters counts, he gave up just 1 homer. In pitchers counts, he gave up 9. And then in even counts, he gave up 10. Pitchers counts, 9. Okay. That strikes me as fixable issue. To give up half your homers in pitchers counts?
It should be fixable, but how do you do that? Like
I don't know. I need to investigate further.
Yeah,
TBD on that.
Maybe we need to do a watch party. Let's find a game in which he gave up a bunch of home runs and have a watch party.
Well, I tell you this. Let me put together like a supercut of the homers.
Ooh, love that idea.
And we figure out all of it. Let's do a Bailey Ober breakdown after let me gather some stuff. Yeah, I think there could be something here. And if it is fixable, then we should be in on this. If it's not, then maybe people are overhyping. Because I know when there is one simple fix, I fall for it too, where I'm just like, well, there's just this one thing. Just turn this lever and we got a guy. Mm-hmm. There has to be a reason to give up this many homers, though. So Bailey Ober homework incoming. We'll discuss Friday. I didn't do a reliever because everything's so up in the air. I finally did my reliever rankings, y'all. They're on the site, but I didn't do a reliever for projections because who cares about reliever projections anyway?
Did you get a lot of hate in your reliever projections?
No, actually, I was really pleased, and thank you to those who commented saying like, I know this is a pain in the ass. Thanks for doing it, because it's more open than ever because of the lockout. Because on January 25th of a normal year, all those mid and even lower tier relievers would be in bullpens right now for the most part. So we'd have an even better idea on some of the guessing for teams. But we're so far from that I have a guy 14th in my rankings who's on a team behind the number one closer. And that's because I firmly believe Craig Kimbrell is going to get traded. So I'm operating as though that is the case, but obviously
there are some people in the industry that are very much perplexed by Kimbrell's ADP.
And if they don't think he's going to get traded, I get it. But that's how I'm operating right now. Now, push come to shove, am I drafting him? I haven't been put to that test yet. I want to say that I still would, but in my heart of hearts, I probably would take Corey Knebel, who's ranked right below him, who could also lose his job because he hasn't been anointed by Philly. They haven't said this is lock loaded. They could get Kenley, as we talked about the other day. So there's just so much turmoil beyond like 10 guys. But it's out there. You guys can take a look. Feel free to comment. I'm answering the comments and all that. But it was a pain in the butt to figure out where I wanted to go with everything. And there's so much to kind of figure out still that we need this lockout done. We really do, obviously, for many other reasons too. But the closer scenario would obviously tighten up quite a bit. But that's going to do it. We are wrapped up at looking at potential gems from the Bad X. We're going to look at potential fades next time out on Friday, and then we'll do the Bailey Ober homework. But I'm excited by some of these potential fades. I've already put some on the list that you can see. Some names to talk about.
Yeah, some names we both really one of us either likes a lot, the other one likes a lot, or we both really like a lot. So I'm excited to discuss that one. We'll have to talk off air about when we can record, because I do have something in our normal recording spot.
No problem. I know PitchCon's coming up, so we might be busy and we can figure everything out. But until then, Justin, have a good one.
Take it easy.